Hello again. We're back with IFC's Warrior Wednesday. I'm not going to say we have a special guest today because every single one of them is special. So I lied. I didn't even make it 5 seconds and I'm already messing up. So this is a special guest. He's a good friend of mine. He works near me. He lives near me. We spend time together. Cody Hinton from Brownells. Thank you for coming on today, man.
Michael, thank you so much for inviting me on here. And yeah, man, it's a pleasure always when we get together and being so close to just to hang out and know that there's a good friend and an advocate for the 2A close by. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. I get to speak with a lot of people. I know you know this. You travel in many industry circles, some even outside of the United States. But it's really special when I can talk with somebody that I know and see routinely, and that I'm visiting with somebody that supports IFC personally and professionally. You work for Brownells. The Brownells family and the corporation have been fantastic to IFC and our ventures over the year, as they have been with many others, countless. And it's really fun and enthusiastic, or I find enthusiasm anyway, in spending time with you guys who live here and our local business and spend time with us. So I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Again, thank you. It is an honor to. I know we have friends and stuff all across the country, but yeah, to have someone who's a neighbor and a friend is it's a privilege, and I'm honored to call you my friend.
Oh, very kind. Thank you. I feel the same. So, real quick, Palm Industries is our featured trusted partner this week. They offer pepper spray and the likes. I know. Does Brownell sell that? I'm curious. Do you
I
know?
don't I don't believe so. I think we actually kind of got out of some of that
Okay.
self defense stuff a few years ago.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, you can go to Palm's website. You can go to ours, of course, on the Trusted Partners, and pull that down and understand what kind of discount codes are available for members. We appreciate that. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the same thing about Brownells. So we'll get a little deeper here, but Brownells is one of our trusted partners, and they're kind enough to offer us a discount code as well. And you'll find that scrolling on the screen here a little bit. But this week we're featured Palm and Palm Industries, and I have many of their pepper spray canisters, and we rotate them out from time to time. But my family is equipped with them. All the young boys and girls in church that leave to go out into the world and college can count on getting that from me. So we've used those for a number of years, and I like the Palm a lot. So thank you, Palm Ministry. So let's get right into why I asked if you'd come on and visit with us today, Cody. As somebody who has their finger on the pulse of the industry, and we've seen changes with elections and the ebb and flow of what's going on, tell us what you think that we can look for in terms of being a buyer or seller in the market, and what may go on regarding the Second Amendment, its tools, and how we feed it in the next short while. Could you give us a synopsis there?
Yeah, absolutely. There is definitely a lot of optimism when it comes to the 2A and what the next few years could bring. But as I'm sure you're aware, like the election politics plays a massive role when it comes to the gun industry and the ebb and flow of sales and stuff in that area. This year, like with the election that happened and the new administration that's coming in, we're probably going to see maybe a dip in the industry. Like there's not going to be the craze like we saw back in 2020 and 2021 of, potential people wanting to defend themselves, people wanting to buy things. And then the shortages that we saw happening, we're seeing a lot of warehouses that are full of inventory. A lot of companies are stocked when it comes to their products. And so we're probably going to see some price decreases here in the next few months when it comes to some of the key items. With one caveat being ammo. I don't think we're going to see ammo prices drop anytime soon. When it comes to the materials and things that they are using to make ammo, there is a shortage. There's some kind of different things happening in that industry that are causing that to not drop as much as the rest of the products within the gun world and industry. So, but you could probably as a consumer could probably bank on seeing some price decreases here pretty soon. I don't think they're going to drop to what they were pre-COVID, pre-2020, but you could see some definitely, some better prices than we have in the last few years. As far as consumer, it's probably, you're going to have to do a lot of good marketing and maybe even be a little innovative when it comes to your products and to see some sales. But they're out there. We'll see. Hopefully the economy will bounce back and we'll have some little extra cash to be able to spending on these kind of things. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a downturn for at least the next year, maybe year and a half or so.
That's interesting. Not surprising from an advocacy standpoint. I'm sure you probably have some idea about this, but what we typically see is, okay, so Trump's elected, people are talking favorably about the Second Amendment, which translates to Joe Main Street hearing. I don't think there'll be that many bans. Or proposed, and probably nothing bad happening on the federal level, probably. And if I live in a state that doesn't lean blue or lean towards gun control, if you want to call it that, then things might be pretty good for us. And what actually happens is those advocates do this. They cross their arms and they lean way back and they put their feet up on the easy chair or on the coffee table and they don't do much. Mm-hmm. And I've got to tell you, nothing truly disappoints me more than that, because people have worked very hard to get us, Iowa and these other states, the federal, whatever, where we are, to protect people, to protect the Second Amendment and everything that it protects. And then when you have an opportunity for true advancement, then people let off the gas a little bit because they think they're safe. And I can understand why they think that, but this is the wrong time to tap the brakes. This is the time when you pour it on. You get something accomplished with your time, with your energy, with the forward motion that you've made. And so I can see how advocates slough off a little bit, and they shouldn't. But as what we're talking about pertains to sales or buying, I mean, it looks to me like, and maybe you're right with the exception of ammunition, but it looks to me like it might be a buyer's market for a while. So those people that have some discretionary income, they may want to look places and do things that they had been talking about for a while. So what does that look like for people who want to buy?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great opportunity to get maybe some of the things that you've been wishing for, kind of the more, pricier items, or the kind of fancy items that you not necessarily are necessities, but the ones that, hey, I just want to have one of those, like a special firearm or something like that. You're going to see some price drops. So it's definitely going to be a time for that. It's not going to be what do I need for my home defense, or what do I need for hunting, or what do I need for this? It's going to be, the price is down enough. I could probably buy that fancier rifle that, I've been eyeing on the Instagram or the YouTube or whatever that these guys have been showing off, so let's spend a little bit more and get that, because it's not as high as it used to be. That's definitely gonna, I think, play into the next few months for a consumer. It's definitely going to be an opportunity. Then from what I know, there are going to be some fun and kind of innovative things coming in this next year for consumers like that to purchase, that they might be excited about when they see hitting the shelves. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a time for buyers to purchase that dream gun or that dream tool that they wanted, or have been wanting for a while.
I sniffed something there. Do you know something that's coming out that we don't know about?
I may have rumors or hear some birds chirping.
Is there anything that you could share with us? That's probably the better question.
Well, the one I can share with you for sure is that the BRN 180 Gen 3 that Brownells has been kind of talking about for a while actually just officially dropped on today, which is on the 7th. So I don't know when this will be released, but on January 7th, we did officially launch the Gen 3 of the BRN 180. There are a lot of cool changes. We've listened to the customers about the Gen 1 and Gen 2 of what they wanted. And in my opinion, it's probably the best 180 we've released. It's amazing. So I'm super excited about that one.
Fantastic. That is music to my ears. I need to do those kinds of things more often. I love mine. I've got a 180 and a 10.5 inch in 5.56, and it's fantastic. I love it. So I'm smiling from ear to ear for lots of reasons. Thank you for sharing that with us. And we're taping this on what? Today's the 7th, Tuesday. Is that right?
Tuesday. Yep.
We'll have this out in 24 hours. People will see this on Wednesday afternoon. So thank you for that, man. Very kind. Now, yeah. I know that there are a bunch of other things that you you enter into non-disclosure agreements. You can't let the cat out of the bag. But when can we expect to see some really cool stuff? Is this post-SHOT Show things you're talking about?
Yeah, there's gonna be some cool announcements coming out in 2 weeks at SHOT Show. So everyone who's interested, be looking out for those. Yeah, there's a few companies that I've heard rumors of and seen some things of that are talking about, and they're going to be coming out definitely post SHOT Show. Hopefully, we'll be able to get our hands on them soon after SHOT Show. But there are some pretty awesome items coming soon.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, we do have IFC's uh, reference to Brownells as a trusted partner running across the screen right now, in case you didn't notice. But the other thing that I'd like to encourage people to consider here is, let's say that you've got a firearm, you've got a 2A tool, whatever it may be, and you think, well, I'm stocked up for a while, I'm good. Well, do you have what you need to keep it running? Do you have some spare parts? Do you have the oil? Do you have magazines? Because you need to have plenty of those. There's no reason for most of these particular rigs not to have several mags. So those are things that you can go by and pick up. And if you go to the Trusted Partners tab on ifc.org, you can go down there and take advantage of the discount code for Brownells and others. Now, you may not think that that's sizable on the front end, but it's absolutely huge, number one. And number two, have you heard of Kim Rode? She's 6-time Olympian shotgun shooter. Mm-hmm. Okay, she was on a few weeks ago, and we did the math, or I did the math real quick while she was rattling off how much she practices, which is roughly 1,000 rounds a day. That's a lot. Yeah. And she does this year round. And so I did quick math, and my calculations came up to, I don't know, $97,000 or $98,000 worth of ammunition. So I told her, I said, if you'd gone to Brownells and bought that and used our discount code, you would have saved almost $10,000, Kim. Now, she's sponsored, and they delivered to her in pallets because that's how often she burns through it. But this stuff adds up, and I want people to consider, I'm not talking out of going and buying a new rig, but you should be supporting the one that you've got and should be thinking about that. And also, by the way, and this is one that the trainers and the professionals out there will appreciate hearing, I would encourage you to get help from a professional. Go take a training class. Go hone your skill. Let these people watch you. I mean, most of the people listening to this, if you've ever played golf, you've either done it yourself or talked with somebody that's got a golf lesson. And all those guys come back saying, oh my gosh, he watched me for 5 minutes or 15 seconds and told me to change this, this, and this, and how much better it was. The same thing is true with your use of these tools. Go to a trainer and get some help, correct some problems, and it'll absolutely huge in your performance, and it'll help with your beanie. I mean, when you have more confidence, you're more likely to perform. So keep those things in mind, folks.
Yep, absolutely. You can have the most expensive, tricked out tool that you can possibly get your hands on, but if you don't know how to use it or is not maintaining it properly, it's not going to do you any good. And we're messing or dealing with things that, you're using it regularly. If you're training with it, things are going to wear out. There are parts and pieces that eventually, no matter how expensive it is, how good it is, or what brand it is, it's going to eventually wear out. So yeah, definitely get extra springs, keep those on hand, keep extra pins. I don't know how many times even my really nice firearms, I've been shooting out at the range and I look down, I got a pin that's walked out and I can't find it, So make sure you got extra pins, you've got extra springs, because you never know when something's just going to give up the ghost.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so what else should we know moving forward? Do you have predictions, things that we should be looking for, market indicators, best practices for the first half or into the second half of the year? What do you think?
Oh man, I think some of it's going to depend on what this new administration can do. There's going to be some things there. Like I know, what's her name out of Colorado just submitted a bill to get rid of the ATF, which
Lauren Boebert, yeah.
Lauren Boebert, yeah, which is fantastic. It's great, but you got to get rid of the NFA first before you get rid of the ATF. So we need to do stuff like that. But if people who are pushing in that direction are going to actually be successful in these efforts, like if we can get the Shush Act approved and actually have suppressors off the NFA, you're going to see, just like we saw when the wait times came down, to get your approval back, you're going to see a rush on items like that. So I would say, for a consumer, be listening, keep your ear to the ground when it comes to, a 2A news in Washington and what that is bringing. Call your, your politicians and your representatives and let them know what you want to see, them do this year. do stuff like that, because that's going to definitely play a role. If we do see something like that happen where suppressors come off the NFA, or we see a rule change when it comes to the ATF, or even like an administrative change when it comes to who's leading the ATF, that could play a big role in what's available for all of us to sell and what's available for you to buy. So to be watchful, be mindful of that, and then talk to your representatives, because they're going to play a big role in that kind of stuff. You're going to see, pistol braces are starting to come back in stock, because now that they're not forbidden anymore. So we'll see stuff like that. The force reset triggers are still a big thing. We're kind of going back and forth on whether or not that you can have those, but be watching for those, because that could even have ramifications in other things for our rifles. There are some positives. There's some reasons to be optimistic when it comes to our two-way rights for this new administration, but all of that's going to play into what is available, what is, and then if it does, we could see rushes on some of those items, like we saw with the suppressors early in the year or early last year, where all of a sudden they're out of stock and you're not gonna be able to get them for a couple of months because everyone's jumping on board trying to buy them.
Yep.
I would say, as a consumer, as a someone who wants to maybe stock up on certain parts, or trick out or expand or accessorize their rifles, just be mindful of what's happening when it comes to politics and stuff like that. That's definitely going to play a role in what is and isn't available on our shelves. And then like subscribe to newsletters. They're whether it's IFC newsletter or newsletters from Brownells, like they're going to be up the first to let you know about what's going on, and so you can be mindful when it comes to sales and products availability and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm glad you said that. That leads exactly into what I was going to ask you about next. Are you seeing rises in certain platforms in terms of social media, whatever else, that you should be following? I'm not talking about, I don't want to go use this platform, or I don't want to go use that one. But I've seen a lot of people rushing over to X. I really have. And so I didn't know if this is a scenario where there are going to be natural places that become better resources or not. I mean, what can you talk to us about that?
I would say for sure X is one of the top, probably the best source right now for any kind of news out there. Obviously you got to be wise and use your own, um, knowledge and stuff, and you use your own brain when it comes to filtering all that stuff out. But right now, X is definitely the best source for especially 2A news. They've been the least suppressive when it comes to that stuff, but Zuckerberg just made a big announcement this morning about Meta and being more free speech and friendly and stuff like that. So that could change stuff there. We'll have to see what happens when it comes to that. But I would say, as far as like those kind of platforms, X is going to be your best option. We've seen a ton of growth across the industry for all the accounts over there, and Rumble for a video one is starting to grow and pick up over YouTube, but YouTube is still going to be your best video source, just because that's where the most people are.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you got to go where the people are and whatever else, if you want to be in front of them. But and then that's where there is so much content on YouTube. It is absolutely mind-boggling. People don't understand it. I thought that I heard the other day that, maybe you could tell me this, Cody. You'd probably know that as a search engine, I think I'm using the right words. As a search engine, YouTube finally became #1 in the world. Is that right?
Yeah. Especially these newer generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're going to places like YouTube, or they're looking for it on something like a TikTok, whatever, and it's taking them to a YouTube.
Okay.
They're more so than they are going to just a Google. But yeah, that's where everyone's at. No one really, or people are slowly getting away from what we would consider the norms, like the Google searches and the emails and things like that. And they're relying on TikTok and they're relying on YouTube to give them all of their information.
I'm trying to think back when I was a pup, and the internet was first a thing. I'm trying to think of what the big search engine was, like Vista and some old things like that nobody has heard about. There were a handful out there, and then this thing called Google came on. I'm like, well, I don't even know what that word is. I don't even understand that. And I was a very, very young man at that point. So I had no idea it would be what it is today, but you've got to pay attention to these things. So, but I'm glad to hear about X. I think that looks encouraging. I'll be shocked to see that old Zuck makes good on his claim, but I guess the proof's in the pudding. If he's going to go out there and tell everybody we want to move back to where we were, and which has not been what he's been saying for a number of years, then the proof will be in the pudding. If he doesn't do it, then I would imagine people may leave, at least some. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see how that actually goes. In a year from now, I guess we'll have a good reflection.
Yeah, for sure. I said I hope he makes good on what he said today, what he released this morning. We'll have to see if it, I could see it being true for some other industries, but maybe not necessarily true for the Second Amendment industry, the gun industry. He'll probably still suppress those a little bit, but who knows? We'll see. If he's has the right people talking to him, and he's probably feeling the pressure from X and all the people moving over to that platform, moving away from Instagram and Facebook, especially the younger generations. So he's probably got to do something to try to win back. And I think this last election was a huge statement to our country and to some of these bigger companies saying, oh, maybe the direction we thought this country was going is not actually what the majority of the people here want.
Yeah.
And I think that November really showed that.
I do too. I think that some of the strategies used, like I'm going to go on whatever it is, 60 minutes, and I'm going to have my 22 minutes of pre-recorded, 15 hours of prep, questions I already know the answer to, the only ones I'll agree to talk about on the air. That's stage stuff, which everybody knows stage, and it always has been. But everybody's saying, no, I don't think that's something I find legit. Instead, I'm going to go on Joe Rogan's. I'm going to go with Sean Ryan. I'm going to go over here and be interviewed by Theo Vaughn. And now you've got 3 hours of unscripted conversation, and you can kind of get to the meat and potatoes of a person. You can see what they may think and what they may not think. You can get an idea for their stamina. You can see how they respond to things either going well or not well in front of them. Personally, I think that those were the biggest items in my age group. So anywhere, let's say from 55 to 25, I think the people that fall in that category were most moved by seeing those things, which is why I like doing what we're doing right now. You and I are not talking about scripted items. We're talking off the cuff about some subjects that we did banter around about, but this isn't pre-scripted in any way. And it's not going to be edited. We're going to get through with this, hit the post-production button, and move on with life. And I think that there's a purity with that people respond to. And some of that came out moving into the election cycle. And I'm glad for it. I think that this is a good way for us to go in the future. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're seeing a massive shift away from the traditional media outlets towards more of this, what people are considering authentic, reporting and resourcing. And you're seeing that through those podcasts. And I think there's been a massive shift in it. Like, especially over the last couple of years, no one trusts the legacy media anymore. And there's no, and they've proven themselves to be untrustworthy. And so, when you can sit and watch a guy, like Joe Rogan or Sean Ryan, which, man, the last couple of Sean Ryan episodes have been incredible. But if you can sit them and just hear them talk for 3 hours, and there's no BS, there's no filtering. There's just, hey, I'm going to tell you what I think I know, and you're going to ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them the best I can,
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about this. You're right about Sean Ryan. I didn't anticipate some of the things that would come out, and there are knee-jerk reactions that people that are wired like me personally have, and I try and keep those in check now, because I end up finding out that maybe I operated with not the benefit of enough information. But they're certainly eye-raising, but it doesn't fundamentally change my commitment to safety of the family. When my wife and I were traveling, we had several hours of windshield time the other day, and I had listened to, in full disclosure, I listened to Sean Ryan's podcast with, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but they were talking about this Tesla blowing up in Las Vegas and all the things surrounding it, the emails, and what they may implicate. And her eyes got real big, and she started paying closer attention. She's like, do you think this? Do you think that? I'm like, well, I'm not real sure about that, but here's what I can tell you. I can tell you that the G19 is not going to be enough if something bad really happens. And if there are people out there that are trained to really go until they can't go anymore. So maybe we better be thinking about what that looks like for us as a family as we travel, whatever else. And so I didn't know that conversation would lead to the green light to stock up, but it did. And so, and my wife is like, well, I don't think that I should rely on you and you alone to be the person in the vehicle that keeps care of our safety. I need to do that too. So it was a really good organic conversation that brought her home to where she needed to be for our safety primarily. And then it'll be great if we could rely on a few others, but we got to do it ourselves. So when I mentioned earlier about, yeah, you've got that rig that works fine, go get a bunch of mags, get some extra ammo, get some parts to keep it up and running, things to keep it clean and work with it. Oh, by the way, some lubes, some methods of maintenance are better or worse than others. I think those are things Americans should be thinking about. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be prepared, and especially, the dads out there, it's our job and our responsibility to protect our families and protect those around us. So you got to be prepared for whatever could happen. Yeah. And sometimes, you need to rethink your tools and see if they're actually going to be enough. And do you know how to use them properly? That goes back to that training we talked about.
Now, let me ask you this, because I think I may know the answer, but I'm not sure. Today, most people's and then granted their policies and their user agreements will change, probably not for the better. But if I was to hold up one of these tools we're talking about and to actuate it while this is recording and it play later, and most platforms today that will be okay, but you can't do that live stream. Am I right about that?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so how? Because you said something earlier that struck with me when you were talking about dads are responsible for A, B, and C. I happen to agree with that, but that assumes that there's a dad there to do it.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who don't have the benefit of having a husband or a dad there to do those things. And so there are women who are the primary caregiver and protector of their families. And sometimes, whether it's a woman or a man, it doesn't make any difference. They're doing this for the first time or new to it. They don't know how to do these things. So what resources would you recommend so that they can learn how to maintain and operate, not just operate like a trainer takes you out to the range? I mean, how do you teach them to maintain good care of the tools that they bought? So what would you tell us in response to that?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of really, really good resources out there on YouTube and Instagram. A lot of really amazing, brilliant women out there that are in that space. But also, I would go to a local range, go to a local organization, like that's close by, and find somebody there that would be willing to walk you through and kind of be a mentor to you. I know, like, being in the gun industry, being connected with guys like you, there are plenty of us out there that would be more than happy to say, hey, let me take you shooting for the first time. Let me show you how to use all this stuff. Let me teach you some of the basics, the maintenance, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So find someplace local that you can get plugged into and connect with people that are, your neighbors and down the street. That's going to be your best. But then also there are lots of really good resources out there too that you can watch and kind of get some of the, hey, here's the gear that I should need. Here's the things that I should own. Here's where it maybe, and then spend some money on some good training. But yeah, the local people, I mean, you and I are very much aware of the power of community, in the circles that we run in. So find people that you can be shoulder to shoulder with and that'll be willing to walk with you in person. I would say that's probably the number one for sure.
Fantastic. I think that puts a special emphasis on the community aspect of what we do. Whether you have somebody like it's a Brownells resource, an Iowa Firearms Coalition resource, whatever it may be, that's huge. But there are a ton of shooting clubs. There are lots of Ikes. There are lots of places out there that you should be part of or can be part of just in proximity and to overcome logistics. So there are a lot of resources I don't think people even know about that might even be within a stone's throw of them. So reach out to those places. If they can't help you, then reach out to Iowa FC, iowafc.org. and contact us, and we'll link you up with somebody that might be local to you that could help. And if that doesn't work, then we'll figure something out. There are tons of NRA programs that we're willing to help run in the neighborhood and shepherd into the place or into your places. And you just have to reach out and let me know, hey, this is the problem that I have. Can you help me solve it? Yes, we'll make every effort.
Yep, absolutely.
What else did I want to ask you about? I was hoping that you were going to say ammo is going to be cheap. You should be stacking it deep, and you've been waiting all this time to
You
get.
definitely should be stacking it deep right now, because I think this is going to be the cheapest you're going to find it for a while.
Oh,
if you can get your hands on it, get your hands on it.
No, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear it's going to be so cheap you can't afford not to buy it.
Man, I hope maybe there'll be some changes in our where not everything's going overseas, that we can bring some stuff domestically, and that'll make it cheaper. But the way things are moving, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
No, I don't think so either. It doesn't appear that way. So, all right. I didn't get what I wanted, Cody. I didn't hear you say, yeah, plan on ammo being free with every jug of milk at the Hy-Vee, but maybe someday.
That'd be amazing.
You should see if Pete wants to work into some sort of partnership with Hy-Vee on stuff like that.
We should.
The Hy-Vee has done some partnership with Casey's. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen with Brownells.
Yeah, we could. I got some connections at Hy-Vee. We can maybe see about making that happen.
I like it. Fantastic. That's good. All right. Anything else we need to know where the folks watching would benefit from that we can tell them?
One of the best resources we have is our YouTube channel. Go to Brownells on YouTube and watch those videos. The guys there produce a lot of really good stuff. And if you need help with anything, we got a tech line. Also, you can call in all the time, and they're willing to walk you through whatever you need when it comes to your firearms and all that stuff.
It's been fun for me over the years I don't actually think that I know Steve well at all, but he always seemed exceedingly dry to me, like popcorn fart dry. Okay. And now watching him and Caleb a little bit on some of these videos over the years, he's got a fantastic sense of humor, but I didn't get a chance to see it before. So watching some of that it's been entertaining just to see their dynamic. But the stuff that comes out is of value. I catch myself going down a rabbit hole and watching a lot of them when I probably should be working. But you're right. It's a tremendous resource. There's something there for everyone, no question. And it's a good resource. I hope that you don't get in problems with YouTube or whatever does come up, which may be inevitable. They can be ironed out on the quick, because tons and tons of resource there. I'm so glad for it.
It's been a privilege to be able to travel with Caleb and Steve this last year at a couple of different events. And man, there are times where we were sitting in a Cracker Barrel and I was just in tears laughing. Like, I wish I'd had my camera up on, recording it, because it was so funny. But yeah, it's brilliant stuff over there.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, Cody from Brownells, thank you for coming on today. One last quick jab here for Palm Ministries, this week's featured partner. Go to IFC.org. This is a value associated with membership. We're trying very hard at IFC to not just, which frankly, at the risk of offending everyone listening to this, the work that the volunteers are doing had ought to be enough for you to say, I want to be part of this organization. I'm quite willing to spend some money and do that. But it doesn't always work like that. So we recognize we're trying to build value added by saying, look at all these things that you can do. Like, for example, if I switch down here to Brownells for a second, thank you again, Palm Ministries. If I switch down here to Brownells and you realize that you can get 10 points off when you spend $150 or more, and you've got a big order coming up, you've got a whole bunch of parts, pieces, things that you're going to buy. If you do that, you'll save enough money at least on your checkout that you could pay for an IFC membership and then some. So there are things that you guys should be doing out there and in the viewership land to help out. But we appreciate being linked up as a partner with Brownells. Again, Cody, thanks for coming on. Fantastic that you're willing to carve out some time in the day and help us. I really, really value our relationship, and I appreciate having it. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, and thank you so much. Thank you for the invite this morning to hop on this call this afternoon. And Yeah, and I would echo what you just said, Michael. Like, guys, you really get out there, get a membership with IFC. They do amazing things here in the state of Iowa. It's well worth the membership. And man, I'm really excited in a few weeks to link up with you again for a 2A day and all that we're going to do down there as well.
It's going to be big. Jeff Strecker, Fort Dodge boy, featured in Black Hawk Down. He's coming in to speak to us at the Capitol building. That's February 18th. That'll be huge. It won't cost you a nickel. And then that evening, if you want to have a more intimate discussion with him and listen to a private, what would you call it? A session, so to speak, where he talks about things a little bit more in depth. You can get tickets and have come to our pack supper, which is a nice fundraiser that same evening. It's going to be a really big deal. So we're glad to have that. And I'm told, you were kind enough to talk to us about the 3rd gen BRN 180 coming out and blow that out there. I've got something that I was going to hold back, but I'm told that the leadership of the NRA is coming into town for that. So those people that want to come out and talk with those guys that listen to them there's going to be available. And I think what that really means, since I've seen them start to do more of these around the country in the last few months, what they're really saying is, hey, we've got a story to tell. And oh, by the way, we need to listen. So there are going to be people that come and talk and say, hey, this is my concern. How are you going to manage it? Whatever else. And I think they're prepared to do that. And I'm really glad to see that kind of movement, to be out there and to talk about things and to handle people's concerns and to manage them, whatever else. So those people will be present at the Capitol building. I'm told that they're coming into town in force. So I'm looking forward to that. And everybody should come out and see them and listen to what they've got to say. And if you have a legitimate gripe, you should be making it known. It's your time to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. 2A day, February 18th. Cody from Brownells, thank you very much, old buddy.
Thanks, brother.
Stay safe out there, guys.